Red warning lights flood the bunker as alarms scream through the underground hallways. Your hands tremble over a sealed authentication device, while a voice inside your headset calmly repeats,
Possible launch detected.
Across the room, nobody speaks. One operator quietly wipes sweat from his shaking hands. Another stares frozen at the countdown clock ticking downward in complete silence. Then another voice cuts through the static.
Awaiting authorization.
Your heartbeat pounds so hard, it almost drowns out the sirens. Because if this warning is real, millions of people above your head may already be living through the final minutes of their lives.
The room is buried hundreds of feet underground. No windows, no sunlight, just cold steel walls, humming machines, and the sound of your own breathing echoing inside your headset. The people around you barely speak. They were trained not to. Every movement inside this bunker has purpose. Every second matters. And somewhere above your head, millions of people are sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that your hands are resting inches away from something capable of ending everything they know. You never imagined your life would become this. When you were younger, power looked exciting, important, meaningful. But nobody ever tells you what power actually feels like when the consequences become real. Because real power doesn't feel exciting. It feels heavy, terrifying, like carrying a loaded weapon pointed at the entire world, while being told never to panic. The training started years ago, before they trusted you with codes, before they allowed you anywhere near this bunker. They studied you. Not your grades, not your strength, your mind. Psychologists questioned you for hours about fear, pressure, morality, isolation. They wanted to know how your brain reacted when stress slowly consumed you. They tested your memory, your patience, your emotional control. Some candidates broke down during simulations, others froze completely. One wrong response was enough to remove you forever. Because this wasn't a normal military position. This was a job where one emotional mistake could become history's final mistake. The deeper you entered the program, the stranger your life became. Friends stopped asking what you did for work because your answers never revealed anything. Your family noticed you disappearing for weeks at a time. Your phone calls became shorter. Your emotions became quieter. Eventually, secrecy became part of your personality. You learned how to sit in silence without looking uncomfortable. You learned how to hide stress behind a calm expression. Most importantly, you learned how to pretend everything was normal. But nothing about this job is normal. Every morning begins the same way. Security checkpoints, biometric scans, armed guards who already know your name but still ask for identification anyway. Massive blast doors opening one by one as you descend deeper underground. By the time you finally reach the command room, it feels less like entering a workplace and more like entering another planet. No clocks, no distractions, no outside world. Just screens filled with maps, codes, and systems constantly monitoring threats you hope never become real. At first, the silence inside the bunker scared you, but after enough time, the silence becomes worse when it disappears. Because alarms mean something is happening. Every few days, emergency drills begin without warning. Red lights flood the room. Sirens explode through the speakers. Your heart jumps before your brain catches up. Then the protocols begin. Confirm the codes, authenticate the source, verify the threat, repeat every step exactly as trained, again and again and again until the procedures become muscle memory. The instructors say repetition saves lives, but secretly, everyone knows what they're really preparing for. The possibility that one day the alarm won't be a drill. That thought follows you everywhere. You think about it while eating, while trying to sleep, while staring at your ceiling at 3 in the morning, wondering whether humanity accidentally gave too much responsibility to ordinary people. Because that's the terrifying part nobody talks about. The men trusted with these decisions aren't superheroes. They aren't emotionless machines. They're human beings with fears, human beings with anxiety, human beings who get exhausted, overwhelmed, distracted. Human beings expected to stay perfectly calm while the fate of entire cities hangs above their heads. Sometimes the pressure becomes physical. Your chest tightens randomly during quiet moments. You wake up sweating from dreams where alarms never stop ringing. Certain sounds start triggering instant anxiety, Even hearing static through a speaker makes your stomach tense. Your mind begins treating every small problem like a possible catastrophe. And yet, every time you return to the bunker, you sit down at your station, place on your headset, and continue pretending your life is completely under control. Because fear is dangerous here. Panic spreads faster underground. One nervous movement, one emotional reaction, one person losing control can infect the entire room within seconds. That's why your training emphasized calmness above everything else. Calm voice, calm breathing, calm hands. Even if your heart feels like it's trying to escape your chest. One night during a routine shift, the silence suddenly disappears. An alert flashes across the main screen. Everyone freezes. For a split second, nobody moves because your brains are desperately hoping this is another drill, another simulation, another test. But then additional warnings begin appearing one after another. Incoming data, possible launch detection, authentication request pending. The room changes instantly. Conversations stop. Chairs slide backward. Fingers move across keyboards at terrifying speed. Years of training suddenly take over without permission. You hear your own breathing becoming louder inside your headset while confirmation procedures begin. Somewhere nearby, someone quietly repeats verification codes aloud with a shaking voice they're trying desperately to control. You stare at the screen. Your hands feel colder than usual. This is the moment every person here secretly feared would never arrive. The possibility that the world outside may already be changing forever. Another message appears. Potential hostile launch detected. Your pulse slams against your chest. Inside the bunker, nobody screams. Nobody panics dramatically like movies portray. Real fear becomes quieter, heavier. The kind of fear that drains color from people's faces while forcing them to continue functioning anyway. You glance around the room and realize something horrifying. Everyone here looks human again. Not soldiers, not operators, just terrified people trying to perform impossible responsibilities correctly. Then comes the next stage, authorization protocols. This is the part that haunted you during training, the part nobody jokes about, the part that follows you into your dreams. Because once authorization begins, the situation becomes real enough that the system must prepare for response options. And response options mean consequences beyond imagination. Your headset crackles. A calm voice begins reading authentication sequences. You repeat them back automatically, but your thoughts are no longer focused on the bunker. Your mind drifts upward toward the outside world, toward ordinary people completely unaware of what might be unfolding beneath their feet. Parents putting children to sleep, couples arguing over meaningless things, friends laughing somewhere in crowded restaurants, entire cities continuing normal life, while underground rooms like this silently decide whether tomorrow will still exist. Then another message arrives. Possible false alarm under investigation. Nobody relaxes, not yet. Because history already proved false alarms happen. Radar mistakes, system failures, human errors. Moments where the world came terrifyingly close to catastrophe because machines misunderstood shadows or signals. And now you understand why this job destroys people mentally over time. Because every second feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to discover whether the ground beneath you is real. Minutes pass like hours. Every person inside the bunker remains locked between action and hesitation. You realize your hands are shaking slightly. Not enough for others to notice, but enough for you to understand something important. No training can truly prepare someone for this, not emotionally. Eventually, updated confirmations arrive. False alarm, no launch detected. The room exhales all at once. Not relief, exhaustion. Pure emotional exhaustion. Some people lean back silently staring at the ceiling. Others remove their headsets slowly as if their bodies suddenly forgot how to function normally. One operator quietly wipes sweat from his hands before anyone notices. Nobody celebrates because nobody feels victorious. The fear still lingers in the air long after the alarms stop. And that's when the truth finally hits you. The scariest part of this job was never the weapons, it was the responsibility. Because humanity created systems so powerful that civilization itself now depends on ordinary people remaining emotionally stable during impossible moments. People like you, people forced to sit underground carrying decisions no human mind should ever comfortably carry. When your shift finally ends, you leave the bunker the same way you entered it, through steel doors, through security checkpoints, through long, silent hallways designed to protect secrets the outside world barely thinks about anymore. But stepping outside feels strange now. The sky looks too peaceful. Cars move normally across distant roads. People scroll through phones completely unaware how close the world can sometimes come to disaster without ever realizing it. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. Most people will never know your name. They'll never hear about the nights spent underground, fighting panic while staring at warning screens. They'll never understand how fragile everything truly feels from inside those rooms. To them, peace feels permanent, automatic, guaranteed. But you know better, because you've seen how quickly normal life can begin slipping toward chaos. You've seen how much trust humanity places inside systems, protocols, and exhausted individuals praying they never make the wrong choice. And every time you return home after another shift underground, one thought quietly follows you back into the darkness. The world survives every day because somewhere someone stayed calm when they absolutely shouldn't have had to.